Welcome to Colney Talk Podcast.
Hello, listeners. Happy New Year. Hope you are doing well. You are listening to Colney Talk Podcast, a bite-sized show. I'm your host, Alex. New listeners, thank you and welcome. And to my other returning listeners, glad to have you as well. As usual, I'll be discussing my top 3 players in the game and the other guy below levels of quality or not so good performance. Arsenal took a trip to Amex Stadium to play Brighton. It was one of those grounds Arsenal usually in the past we struggle, usually don't come out with a very good result or it's like a very tight game. Well, it wasn't the case this time around. We took care of business winning a 4-2, which in my opinion could have been at least a fair 4-1. But anyway, we won the game. We busted out with our first quick goal. Familiar theme that I like, where we score within the first 8 minutes of the game, trying to at least gain some dominance along with a possession dominance that we usually have. Odegaard has clearly stepped up to elite level, in my opinion. He displayed brilliant quality and vision. Something is always happening when he's with the ball, especially in tight spaces. I mean, and he does this in the box. I am so just glad to see this elevated quality from our captain and what he's doing now that gets involved with Eddie, Martinelli, Saka, just in front, even with Xhaka as well. I mean, he's been doing this, but like he has gone up a notch, and it's a good credit to him and all that he has done within this break that we had. So at least it's been in our favor so far, and I hope he takes us and maintains this consistency all through the campaign for the season. The gameplay was somewhat slow at times until we scored our second goal. Then things began to get a bit cagey and comfortable after Brighton's first goal. I mean, Tomiyasu, who was subbed in for Ben White, got dragged in for that goal. I mean, just a very poor display of defense and how they had to really manage that. But what is very telling to me is how Arsenal responds after conceding a goal. We've done this before when we were 1-0 down in the past game, and with this, we were not. This was a 2-1 score at the time, I believe, and we just responded, brilliantly in our second goal. It was, to me, it's a significant mindset of a change that I've noticed when we respond with, after conceding, because you can see it become a momentum shift, or you now have people just playing in the shell, not really playing in the same style that they would usually play after conceding a goal, like just getting nervous. But I don't see that. It's a good change of mindset, as I mentioned. It's a cultural shift as well, and it's growth for the whole players as well. So I like that. It's something that we get to see often, and it would take us a long way in this season, and especially this position that we are now at the top. Brighton's close chance in our box flipped quickly into our own goal-scoring opportunity, thanks to Martin Odegaard as well, and Martinelli finishing that off. But this is one of those same opportunities where you just don't, a turn of events, like it happens every time in any game, but for Arsenal, we get to flip this in our favor and then make something out of it for the most part. Towards the later part in the second half, we really played sloppy, especially on the defensive side. Sure, this is Brighton we're talking about. They are a quality team. They started building somewhat of a comeback after that second goal that they scored. I mean, the second goal was just really poor, just very horrible. We shouldn't have conceded that goal. But to me, this was a factor after we had taken off, Partey, Ben White, and Odegaard out, and subbed them, and the whole dynamics of the team just changed. I don't know if it's because it's much more glaring when we're playing a much quality team. That's not one of the reasons I'll go with, but that's the evidence there. But then we have so many more teams that are going to be lining up that will be tough, and these subs will need to happen because of the load on these players. But again, we have to learn. We're learning from this, but then from the defensive standpoint, there has to be a much tighter work that needs to be done. They need to clean up the sock. They need to clean up some of the defensive structures, or how they contain some of these pressures like we have done in the past. So we just look poor defensively. Besides getting bailed from that third goal that was an offside, which it just really was weird. Yes, it worked in our favor, but I mean, if we were in the situation where that was called against us, I mean, I'll be fuming talking about it right now. But we can't count on our luck next time in a situation like this, especially since we're going to be playing a series of away games, and it's going to be a very tense environment, intimidating environment, and every player, even regardless of the experience, will not be able to handle it. But I'm hoping that's not the case for Arsenal, and we will continue to build with this growth that we have already displayed so far. That's how we just have to take it as we go into these games. And there are certain areas to work on and specific tasks to start looking at for the entire defensive unit, to me, to really make this so much more of a lesser issue to talk about. Because when we look at it, conceding goals can be from different situations, but when we don't look as stout and confident in the back as how they move and manage these pressures, then it becomes a problem. So with that, I'll just get right into my top 3 performance for the game. First off, Martin Odegaard. I mean, without a doubt, my captain. Like, he was just a complete player in this game. Like, it was a total game for him that was just all through 10 of 10. Like, he was just in top bins for me. His vision, his dribbles, his goal, and assists, just wow. I mean, there is just this unbelievable level up in his game that I think I've only seen as a start of something great for this season, and I know we're going to see many more of this. I talked about how he plays in tight spaces and very comfortable doing that. It's very evident that that's something that he worked on. We benefit from that for our players as an outlet, where we sort of pass it off to Saka or Martinelli or Eddie at this moment, but I'm sure we will get to introduce other players, and it is just a game of brilliance. I mean, can you imagine when we add more offensive reinforcements? Wow. I mean, Brighton is a quality team, and Odegaard's performance made us look like we were not threatened. Besides, after they got subbed off. But hey, it's something that we can take pride in as we go into these other games. My next player, Saka, another quality game by the star boy. He moved into the box with good coordination with Odegaard and Eddie, and the link-ups that they had. Even with Ben White, feeding him the ball from the back, he did really good. His runs led to his goal. I mean, that's really very good things that we want to see him do. And he's using his right foot really well. He didn't use his right foot to score, but then that's another dimension to his quality that is also improving, because he's not necessarily dependent on that one side, even though it's what he would favor. A big factor to all quick start-offs, or what he does as he's moving now into these boxes and doing these other creative things to add to his game. He played really well. And definitely that helped in managing the pressure from Brighton, just coming out of this game with this win. He definitely did a lot to that. So he takes that second spot. Now, my final top player, Martinelli, he was too much to handle. His speed, obviously, is a major cause. But then Martinelli, he has this technical sharpness to his game. I mean, it's what we already know. It's now demanding a double team in defending him. So Lamptey, as another speedy right back, he had a lot to deal with. His speed can only go so far with things, but he managed him the most he could. Yeah, you can see how he scored that goal. I mean, that was a cold finish. It was sort of similar to his Chelsea goal that he drove past Conte back then. I mean, very decisive, and he just knew what he was doing. It was a cold finish, but then again, that's Martinelli for you. It was just such an amazing performance, and hopefully we hear his contract announcement soon. It'll just be like another cherry on top of how we serenade this player of Martinelli, and it was really good of an outing for him in this game. Now, for my other guy today, Saliba, for a second time, is well below his usual quality. He's got to pull his socks up real quick. He's got to get it together. Again, all the things that have happened would just be that, but this game, he was just not good. He wasn't as good as I expected him to be. The calmness I usually get from watching him seems to be more of nerves. Yes, it's just 2 games since the break, but it shouldn't be like something we're pointing out as a second time or third time or whatever. But, you know, the old Saliba, we need him now because these games that are coming thick and fast, we need that better defensive player. We know all the things. As he's young, he has a lot of experience. So are the other players. It's the pressure for the team. It's what we expect. I just want those moments that we really enjoyed and talked about in the early parts of the season come back. I know it will. It needs to come back like yesterday. So, yeah, he just didn't do that in this game. Caused us the second goal. In fact, even contributed to that first goal as well because he normally gets to close up gaps and clean things up. But I don't like how it's looking so far, but I know that I know that these games are going to get harder, and as they come up, it's going to raise the stakes with the pressure and how the expectations will be. But it comes with the situation because this is a quality team, so the expectation is to maintain that high quality of playing very well, and Saliba has not done that for these couple of games, and I really hope he makes that quick cleanup for these next games. Anyway, I'm very happy with the win, but I just want the back line as a unit to really tighten up because these teams are going to be a very big test, and hopefully we can really prove this quality that we've had all through these very moments. And that's what we will hope to see, and we'll leave it at that. That's a wrap for another bite size. Odegaard, Saka, and Martinelli for my top 3, and Saliba a second time the other guy. We go again on Tuesday against Newcastle. Here's to start in the new year with a win, and I know that we continue this momentum and what we are really building in general for Arsenal, and I'm really glad to be part of it, and you listeners as well. For now, I'll leave it with this. Talk to you soon. Thanks for listening. Take care, and